Jordan found out his wife had been lying because their daughter called another man dad by accident. Not in some dramatic way either. It happened at a crowded indoor swim meet while Jordan was trying to untangle a pair of wet leggings from a folding chair and balance 2 paper cups of burnt coffee in one hand. Chlorine in the air, kids screaming, somebody's little brother throwing goldfish crackers at the floor. Normal Saturday chaos. His 8-year-old, Sophie, came running over dripping wet from the pool, cheeks red, goggles hanging around her neck. "Dad, can Tyler still come to my recital next week?" Jordan barely looked up. "Which Tyler?" And Sophie answered without thinking, "Mom's Tyler." Then she froze. Kids know immediately when they've said the wrong thing. It's almost creepy. Jordan looked at her slowly. "Mom's who?" Sophie started picking at the frayed edge of her towel. "The guy with the truck." "What guy?" But she was already shutting down, looking over his shoulder instead of at him. Across the bleachers, his wife Alyssa was talking to another mom, laughing too hard at something that probably wasn't funny. Jordan watched her a second too long. And suddenly, little things started reconnecting themselves in his head in a way that made him feel physically sick. The late Pilates class 3 Thursdays in a row. The expensive candles she suddenly started buying, even though she used to complain they were a waste of money. The fact she'd changed her phone password after 13 years together and acted offended when he noticed. Tiny things. Embarrassingly tiny. That was the worst part later. Realizing the collapse of your marriage sometimes starts with details so stupid you feel ashamed repeating them out loud. That night, he waited until Sophie was asleep before asking. Not accusing, asking. "Who's Tyler?" Alyssa didn't even look surprised, which scared him more than if she had. She kept wiping down the kitchen counters while he stood there holding Sophie's lunch thermos like an idiot because he'd forgotten to put it down. "I was gonna tell you." People always say that after they get caught. Jordan laughed once under his breath. Not because anything was funny, more because he suddenly understood he'd been the only person still behaving like they were married. "How long?" "A few months." He nodded slowly like that sounded reasonable. Then, "Did Sophie meet him before I knew?" A pause. Too long. Jordan felt something ugly move through him then. Not anger exactly, something heavier. Humiliation, maybe. Because it meant there had been whole parts of his daughter's life happening around him while he packed school lunches and fixed the garbage disposal and thought his wife being distant was stress. Alyssa finally sat down across from him. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. There it was. The sentence people use when they want credit for guilt. Jordan stared at the half-folded laundry on the couch behind her. One of Sophie's socks was stuck to his hoodie from static cling. Such a dumb thing to notice. But trauma does that. Your brain grabs random objects because the real thing is too big. "You brought him around our kid. He's not dangerous." "I didn't ask that." Her face tightened. "You've been gone all the time too, Jordan." That part hit because it was partly true. Jordan managed inventory for 3 restaurant supply warehouses across 2 counties. He was always driving somewhere, always answering calls during dinner, always exhausted. But there's a specific kind of rage that comes from hearing your worst insecurity used as justification for betrayal. He slept in his truck that night, not because he wanted to make a statement, because he couldn't stop shaking and didn't want Sophie hearing him cry in the bathroom like some pathetic teenager. Around 3 a.m., he drove to a gas station and bought a stale egg sandwich and antacids. He sat in the parking lot eating one bite at a time while a raccoon dug through the trash nearby. That's the version nobody posts online, not cinematic heartbreak, just acid reflux and fluorescent lighting and trying not to throw up. The next morning, Alyssa acted almost relieved everything was finally out. That hurt too, like she'd already emotionally moved out months ago and was waiting for him to catch up. Then came the part Jordan couldn't stop replaying afterward. Tuesday night, Sophie's piano recital. Alyssa asked if Tyler could still come because Sophie already expected him there. Jordan genuinely thought he misheard her. You think your boyfriend should come to our daughter's recital? He's important to her. That sentence changed something permanently, not because of jealousy, because for the first time, Jordan realized Alyssa had quietly rewritten reality in her own head long before telling him. He said no. Alyssa said he was making things hostile. Hostile. Meanwhile, Sophie sat at the kitchen table coloring silently while pretending not to listen. Kids always listen. Jordan started noticing other things after that. How often Alyssa disappeared outside when Tyler texted. How she suddenly cared what she looked like buying groceries. How she got irritated when Jordan walked into rooms unexpectedly. Small betrayals everywhere. Death by paper cuts. The real humiliation came 2 weeks later. Jordan showed up early to pick Sophie up from dance class after a scheduling mix-up. Tyler was already there. Not waiting outside, inside. Sitting on the floor helping Sophie retie her ballet shoe while Alyssa talked to another parent like this was normal, like Jordan had already been replaced and nobody bothered informing him. Sophie looked excited when she saw him, then confused, then scared. That sequence nearly broke him. Tyler stood up too fast and hit his knee on the bench. Nobody spoke for a second. Jordan remembers the sound of somebody's kid practicing tap shoes in the next room. Tiny, sharp clicks against wood. Tyler tried first. "Hey, man." Jordan ignored him completely. He looked at Alyssa. "You let him play house with my daughter before telling me our marriage was over?" Alyssa crossed her arms immediately, defensive, cornered. "You're making this uglier than it needs to be." There are sentences people never forget hearing. That was one of his, because suddenly he understood the whole thing. To Alyssa, the betrayal wasn't the affair. The betrayal was Jordan refusing to absorb it quietly. That night, Sophie asked him something from the back seat on the drive home. Soft voice, barely audible. "Are you still gonna come to my recital?" Jordan had to pull over. Not because he was crying, because he realized his daughter genuinely wasn't sure anymore.